The price of Bitcoin Crypto Kids is about to experience a breakout. And in this video, I want to point towards the levels that you need to know about ASAP if you want to take advantage of what is forming here on the 1 hourly time frame. But we won't only jump into the short term, we will also go into the macro, where I will talk about an indicator that I haven't talked about on this channel for a while. And it is called the MRI, Momentum Reversal Indicator, created by one of my mentors, Tone Vays, whom you may know is a very, very OG Bitcoiner. And he created this indicator as a derivation of the legendary Tom DeMark's TD sequential, and it will give us a hint into exactly where the bottom could take place for Bitcoin. We will glance at the Bitcoin cycle comparison into supporting the statement that I made in prior videos that Bitcoin can actually continue lower for longer. And I know a lot of people in the community don't believe about cyclicality, and that's completely okay. But I believe in it strongly, and I think it can help us, and it did help us to time the Bitcoin top, and it can help us to get in and buy at cheaper and more optimal prices right now. So if you want to stay tuned for that and more, including Ethereum analysis, including Bitcoin psychological analysis, including inflation data updates, then watch until the end. And for daily Bitcoin and crypto videos, subscribe to become a crypto kid. Destroy the like button. If you're looking for a place to be trading Bitcoin and cryptos, check out the links in the description down below to get the best bonuses for Weeks, LoveX, and Coinflare. If you sign up to LoveX and search for Crypto Kid at the top toolbar after creating your account in 40 seconds time, you can get access to my special posts and view my live trades. Okay, if you've done those things, then let's jump into the 1 hourly Bitcoin timeframe. The MRI indicator is also placed on the 1 hourly timeframe, additionally to the weekly timeframe. The MRI indicator gives us a couple of cool things. Two of the cool things that I will talk about here today are the MRI support and resistance, and also the MRI breakout lines. On the 1 hourly, we can see that there is a huge level of dotted red resistance at 71.7K. And it's lined up perfectly with our MRI breakout line, which is the blue line, at 72K. The resistance becomes stronger the more dots there are. And if you can time the resistance and the MRI breakout line the same exact price level or very close to each other, breaking above that territory would mean that prices can go up for a more substantial nominal value. So in short, if Bitcoin is able to break above 72K, then there's a very good chance that we reverse into the $80,000 region, which is why I am in dollar cost averaged Bitcoin positions over on LoveX. And it's super cool because they have something called the multi-trade feature where you can short and long the same contract with different leverage that I've seen no other exchange do. You can even select individual trades, decide to add to them, and you will see the updated entry price, the updated value, the updated liquidation, like so. I'm very happy with their system. It's super, super cool. And if you want to give it a go, the second link is in the description down below to go ahead and trade on LoveX. You can also trade on Weeks or Coinflare or all if you wish. That's what I personally do to diversify my risk. So in short, if we can break above 72K, I think we can reverse into the 80s. If we inversely decide to break below the 67 line of support for this particular cup and handle, then expect 65.5, and we can even expect 62.7. And I will be adding to my Bitcoin longs if we see reversals to those territories. Why? Because I think if we haven't already established the low, which I think there's about a 40 to 35% chance that we did, I think we will still be trading in bearishness or potentially come to an even lower low on the price of Bitcoin. When we take a look at the weekly time frame using the MRI line of support, you will see that in prior cycles, after a Q4 top, Bitcoin generated these green dotted supports where we didn't find that support exactly there, but instead fell by 25% to mark the lowest low, fell by 12% to mark the lowest low in 2022. And now we have tested it, but there is a chance that we come below it and potentially into the 50s or the 49K region, which I've given as my worst case. And I think that would be amazing because if we go to 49K, that will actually be about a 12%, 11% correction, just like the previous cycle where that lowest low can be identified. Now, I'm not saying that this is 100% going to happen. I cannot say that, but there is a potential. When I look into the Bitcoin cycle comparisons, the low for Bitcoin is usually made in the midterm year it's usually made in the midterm year of about September, October. So I expect lower prices and potentially a lower Bitcoin low going into a later stage this year. But I've already began my accumulation. We've already tested the 200 weekly moving average. We're getting good signs, I would say, by things like the electrical cost and so on and so forth. So starting to accumulate today makes sense. But I'm not going all in with 100x leverage. I'm taking it slow. I'm not FOMOing. The trend is still clearly bearish with no sign of trend flipping yet. This is why I think DCing in and starting today makes sense, but I think we can expect lower prices for longer. And I know a lot of people don't like the cyclicalities and don't think that cyclicalities exist. But if we take a look at it from a mathematical point of view, which is compromised of only mathematical facts, we can see that for the past 3 cycles, from the lowest point to the highest point, it's always been 1,065 days. Even in the Genesis cycle, you go to Q4 top, and we've been seeing Q4 tops, post-halving year Q4 tops in every single Bitcoin cycle. These two alone prove that cycles exist. And cycles don't only exist in Bitcoin, but they've existed in other things like the S&P 500, which was in a 4-year cycle cyclicality for about 3 to 4 decades back in the 1900s. So cyclicalities exist. There's different ones. There's crop cycles, electoral cycles, the 4-year halving cycles, the business cycles. It's normal to see cyclical repetitions, and they are there. And if we can identify them, which we have, then we can take advantage to make money off of them. Now, 2 charts that you may have not seen elsewhere is the correlation between Bitcoin to software stocks. Bitcoin isn't trading like gold yet, and it will at some point, but currently it is being valued as software. If you're bullish on software, then you can be bullish on Bitcoin. I am bullish on software. I'm bullish on tokenization. I'm bullish on stablecoins, which blockchain provide as software solutions. We know there's going to be a massive adoption. Larry Fink literally said in a conference not long ago, he stated that people are focusing a lot on how to implement AI, but you're not focusing enough on how we're going to implement tokenization. In a world like that, I don't think you can be bearish on software and Bitcoin, and that's another reason for why I think in the long term, Bitcoin will continue to increase. There's a chart that so many people have seen but haven't put the price onto the chart itself. It's the psychology chart of where we are. We're in euphoria, complacency, anxiety, denial. Ted Pelosi did it perfectly. I think we're at that final stage where we're going to see that chop and potentially make that low in September, October, and then start reversing back towards the upside. I think it's a great chart made by Ted Pelosi. Ethereum, we started buying Ethereum at about 1.900, and I started to do that because that was our target for the head and shoulder pattern. Ethereum reversed to it beautifully, the support line of the ascending continuation pattern. There's so much demand here, so much buying and selling activity. I think Ethereum can come back to the 1.8s and 1.9s, but I think those will be marked as the lows for Ethereum. So just like Bitcoin, I'm trying to accumulate as much ETH as I can at the current prices, and if we go a little bit more to the downside. On Friday, we have the CPI inflation data. It is currently expected to come in 20 basis points lower. Don't focus on truflation because the government doesn't care about truflation. Focus on the real CPI data, right? If we can come lower on inflation, then it's going to add pressure to the Fed to cut rates, which would be beautiful. Mr. Beast acquired his own bank, as people say. It will help kids learn about financial literacy. And if kids learn about financial literacy, then we will see more inflows into the stock market as obviously they grow older, get a job. They would have learned how to invest, so they will take their income and invest. The Trump accounts are giving kids money, capital to invest into the S&P. These are all good liquidity that will be added to risk on markets. Today, we're seeing the White House meet with big players like Coinbase, Ripple, Circle, and JP Morgan, Bank of America, to come to a decision on the yield on stablecoins, which was the only blocker of getting the Clarity Act bill passed. And guys, that's basically a wrap for today. I have some other things to show you, but you need to stay tuned until tonight, where I will go through the rest of what I have to offer on a later CryptoKid video. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you all on the next video very soon. Bye bye, guys.